Hey guys, today we are making a lacto-fermented hot sauce. This is really simple to make. Everyone should be making more fermented foods, I think. It's extremely delicious, quite spicy, as you may have guessed, but you can kind of tweak it to your spice needs and levels. And we got some special ingredients, so we'll go over the basics of how this whole thing works, and then I'll just show the curveballs that I'm going to throw into my specific brew. Probably the star of the show would be these Fresno chilies. Main reason is because they're pretty mild flavor. They're like a kind of known as like a red jalapeno or something, and so around a jalapeno level of spice, but they've got a just dynamite color, and that's going to kind of give us the classic red, vibrant color of a hot sauce. I am also using habanero chilies. These are quite a bit spicier. I will be removing a lot of the seeds because I mostly like the flavor of these. Those are the two main peppers that I'll be using. The third one is I'm just going to throw in one serrano because I also like the serrano vibe. It's a bit more grassy, whereas the Fresnos are kind of sweet and the habaneros are sort of floral and also sweet, I would say. The serrano is more on the grassy side and kind of earthy. So those are the three chilies that I'm using. On top of that, I'm going to be using a bunch of fresh garlic. I think this just really adds a lot to the flavor of any hot sauce. I'm going to be adding some turmeric as well, some fresh turmeric. This is just a little bit, and it's just going to kind of give the color a little bit more pop. Don't want to get this stuff on yourself, but the flavor is also just another interesting kind of component that I think goes well with these. For a little bit of sweetness, I'm going to be throwing in a mango, and a mango is kind of a classic combo with the habanero. Excited to try the mango in here. We've done this kind of before. I think I've maybe done it with another tropical fruit, but mango is going to work great. And then I'll also be throwing in just a little bit, kind of more as a starter. This is totally optional, but I'll be throwing in some of my orange juice kefir soda. We made a whole video about how to make this, so you can check that out, but I'm just going to be using this as a little bit of a starter culture to kind of kickstart the fermentation process. Last ingredient, actually, and this is the smallest ingredient, but crucial, in my opinion, for me, is these cloves. I've got 3 cloves, and that's just going to give it just a touch more dimension. It's a little bit warm. I think it's gonna go well with the sweetness of the mango. Now, if you're not familiar with lacto-fermented vegetables or any sort of just lacto-fermented product, really it's extremely simple. All you're doing is you are submerging your ingredients in a 2% salt water brine. Now, if that sounds complicated, it's really not. All you need is a scale. You need an electric or an analog scale to get the measurements. And I'll show you how in just a minute. On top of the scale, I'm using a nice knife. I've got my cutting board. I'm just using a single glove because I'll be handling the peppers and I don't want to accidentally get the oils on my fingers and then touch my eyes and have a burning eyeball for the rest of the night. And I'll be using a spoon to take out the seeds and the membranes. I've also got, this is just something I always use when I'm cooking, I've got a little scrap bowl that I'll be using, and of course our water filter. I'm going to be putting everything into this half-gallon jar. I could probably fit it into a smaller jar, but I've just got that just in case. And then I'll just be covering it with my rubber band and paper towel, classic. Okay, so let's hop into this. All I'm going to do is I'm going to start just preparing the ingredients to go in the jar. So we'll start with these. I'm going to put on my glove. I'm going to just remove the stem. I'm just going to take off the little edges here because I don't really want to waste any of this. And then for these, I'm actually just going to leave the seeds in. Whew, I can smell that. Okay. I'm going to leave the seeds and the white membrane in. That is where all the spice is. Again, for the red chilies, I'm going to leave it in. For the habaneros, I'll be taking that out. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to just cut this in half, and then I'll chop it up a couple times. You just want to create a little bit of surface area for the fermentation to happen. In case you don't use a knife that often, I'll give you a little tip. So if you take your fingers like this, you just make a claw shape and you put your thumb back. You can hold your veggies down or your pepper down and just kind of like miss the knuckle. That's like I think a pseudo chef's technique. That way you don't risk cutting yourself. That would really suck if you cut yourself and then got burning chili oils in it. If you're cutting this up, you don't need to cut this up super finely. Basically just want to break it up a little bit because we're going to blend this later. Okay, so that is our Fresno chilies. Now moving on to the habaneros. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to cut these in half, but then at this point I'm going to take my spoon and I'll just run it over the membrane to scrape out the seeds. Very simple. And I mean, if you like super spicy hot sauce, then just go for it, leave them in. But I kind of like a little bit more balanced. Definitely spicy, but not crazy. Okay, there are our habaneros. Now we're just gonna de-seed our serrano. Again, we're just going for the flavor with this one. Serranos are pretty spicy. We'll do our garlic. So I'm gonna actually pop these chilies back in this bowl, clear off my cutting board. Okay, so a really simple way of peeling these garlic cloves. I'm just gonna take a clove, I will cut a little tip part off, and then I'm gonna put my knife on it, I'll smash it, and then I'll go to the other side, nip off that bit, and it should just come right out, just like that. Now, I would recommend if you got any spots on your pieces of garlic, I would just kind of like brown icky spots, I would just cut those off. Okay, there is our garlic. That was about a head of garlic. Not sure how many cloves that is. I'm not using an exact recipe, but I will put a link in the description to our blog post with kind of general ingredients and amounts or options that you can use. So next I'm gonna go for my turmeric. This really simple preparation. I think I'm gonna leave the skin on because this is organic. There's actually gonna be a lot of microbes, like beneficial microbes. So I'm just gonna kind of nip off the ends and then I'll go ahead and give it maybe just a slice in half. I'll just give it a rough chop. How about that? Okay, last main ingredient that needs prepping is the mango. This is a pretty ripe mango. The way I do this is I just stand it up and I try and slice on the side about as close to the center as I think I can get. Just like that. There's the pit. And then I'll go on the other side. And then I'll just start here and I'll work my way around. I'll just remove the skin. So I'm gonna lay this out flat, run my knife right along the bottom here. Okay, just kind of chunk this up. Doesn't have to be perfect. At the end, we're gonna blend this up and then we'll strain it out. All right, guys, we have got all of our ingredients prepped. I'm gonna wash off my hands a little bit. Actually, I'm gonna leave my glove on. I'm totally gonna leave my glove on because I'm gonna be handling the peppers. All right, guys, everything has been prepped and here is the next step. We're gonna take our scale and I'm gonna go ahead and put my jar on it, turn it on to tare. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually just put all of our ingredients in there. It's gonna weigh it for us and that will give us our salt brine. So I've got it set on grams. That's just what I like to use. I'm gonna put these peppers in there very carefully. Right, peppers in. I can already tell this is gonna be just incredible color. All right, we'll pop our cloves in there and finally the mango. As far as grammage goes, this is nearly 700 grams exactly. It's 698. So we're gonna call it 700. And what we're gonna do from that is take 2% or 0.02 times it by that number, be 14 grams. That is some mental math right there. 14 grams of salt. That's how it works. You need 2% salt. So I'm gonna zero this out, give it a nice 14 grams. Oh my goodness, that was 14 grams exactly. There's no way. That was 14 grams. How's that possible? Okay guys, I'm gonna take off my glove. And before I add my water, I'm gonna go ahead and just add a little splash of this. Don't need to weigh it. Again, this is totally optional. Ooh! Okay, we'll wait. Glad I'm outside. This is an active bottle of kefir soda. This is why I'm adding it, actually. Is because it is already rocking with probiotics and bacteria and yeast, so it just wants to spray out on me. Okay, you know what? Here's an idea. Just let it drizzle out. Quickly! There we go, that's all we needed. Just a little bump. Okay. Okay guys, this is gonna taste amazing. I've got all my ingredients right here. I actually want to shake this up a little bit so that the salt gets incorporated everywhere. But it doesn't really matter too much because we're gonna fill it up with water. Take our filtered water, non-chlorinated. All right, just enough to cover it. I'm gonna poke down some mango pieces on the sides. All right, and then I'm just gonna kind of shake it up a little bit. And guys, we're gonna let this sit for probably like a week. Yeah, probably a week. Maybe longer. I don't know, actually probably a week in this heat. If you're in a colder, if you're doing this like in the winter, you might want to wait 2 weeks. I'm probably just going to wait 1 week because this thing is going to start bubbling. And we'll be back when that is the case. I'm just going to pop on my protective guard from the bugs. Handy dandy. Rubber band and paper towel. And now we'll just let that sit for a couple weeks, for a week. One. All right, everyone, it's been 1 week and this is definitely ready. I can smell it. It smells great. It's actually been blasting our kitchen with scents for the past week. And there's one thing that I did that this is a little tip that you guys definitely will want. So you can use little weights. You can get these weights on Amazon or different places that push your veggies down. But for any lacto-fermented food, you definitely want all of your veggies, or your, in this case, like my peppers, to be submerged fully. So I made a makeshift submersion thing. Of course, my bag leaked, so that looks disgusting, but I actually just put rocks in a plastic bag and I cleaned the rocks off first. These are very clean. Probably just added some good extra minerals, but I did that so that all of these peppers could stay submerged under, and that way they don't mold, because if there's any that are kind of poking out over the top, that's how things mold. Give it a quick smell, and it smells really nice. It smells like kind of floral and fruity for sure. There's tons of bubbles coming up from here. Quick side note, if there is any white film on the top of your ferment, don't worry. That's actually just a substance called calm. It's just a bacteria buildup that's not harmful. You can just kind of scoop it off. I think you can eat it, but it's not gonna affect your ferment as long as if it's just the white stuff. So if it turns blue or green or red, if it gets colorful basically, then you wanna probably toss the ferment. Here's what I'm gonna do to make the rest of the hot sauce. I've got my blender. I've got a really nice stainless steel Vitamix. Obviously gonna blend this, but I'm not gonna just blend the whole thing, and that's because I wanna have control over the consistency. So I'm gonna take my slotted spoon, and I'm actually just gonna take out all of the contents in here. Just through the fermentation process, you'll notice that all of the peppers and garlic and certainly the mango soften quite a bit. That's totally normal. The cloves have kind of become a little bit mushy, or a little bit just softer as well. You could obviously strain this as well, but you just want to make sure that you keep this stuff. This is the whey. Okay, that's pretty good. So now I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of this whey. This is just the salty brine, and I'll just add a little bit so that it kind of helps kickstart the blending process. That was probably a 1/4 cup, and I'm gonna give it a blend. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a little taste. This is still maybe a little chunky right now. It's kind of almost like a salsa. So I'm thinking I'm actually gonna just be adding some whey, but I am curious. I wanna try a tiny bit of it. Oh, that has got some nice spice. So we're gonna add in a little bit more. And I would just add this a little by little, because you don't wanna, you can kind of always add some in, but you can't always take it out. Just looking for the consistency that I want. Probably getting closer. Still maybe a tiny bit thick. I'm trying to think. I mean, that's pretty good actually. That's probably what I want. I like a thick sauce. And then what I'm gonna do is I love using these pop top bottles to store the brew. And so I'm just gonna bottle this just like I'd bottle anything else. Put my little filter. Okay, there's one. All right. Nice. Very cool. Now here's it. Okay, if you wanted to, you totally could strain this and you'd get a really smooth, just really smooth sauce. I like mine a little chunky, just a tiny bit of texture. It's just a personal preference. And I think this looks extremely nice. I think this turned out great looking. We should definitely do another taste test. I only got a little bit that first one, and it'll be maybe a tiny bit different with the added whey. Here we go, I'll just put a little bit on the spoon. I'll say too, if you strain this, you'll strain out some of the pulp and the seeds that have some of the heat. Oh man, that is, wow. There's actually a lot going on. It's very spicy. Very spicy for me. I'm maybe a little bit of a lightweight, but that's about my threshold. Cassidy is saying that I'm actually not that much of a lightweight. This packs a punch. So if you, you know yourself, if you are lightweight, just scrape out all of the insides. I'm gonna need some water. I'm gonna get some water. Okay, I got my water. It's not that bad. So here's what I'll say. The flavor is, it's like spicy right away, and then it really develops. I mean, it's like right away pretty, I can taste the mango coming through, the garlic, and it just actually develops for a long time. It's got I would say, a pretty good finish. That being said, the heat is sustained through. I've got some beautiful chicken drumsticks that I just cooked up, so I can try these out with the hot sauce. These are really crispy, and I'm just gonna put a little dab on. You can put this hot sauce on a million different things. You put it on your eggs, your chicken drumsticks or wings is maybe a more typical one. You can add it to soups, fried rice. You can add this on a bunch of stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this a try with the chicken, see how it tastes. Really good. Oh my gosh, that's perfect for chicken. A lot easier having food to go with it. Every flavor feels very clear. Really incredible fermented hot sauce. This is definitely one I'm gonna make again. I might scale back the seeds and the pith in there, just so that maybe my kids could enjoy it, or my wife, or someone else, I don't know, who doesn't like hot sauce. As it stands, this is great. I'll probably be the main one consuming this, and this is gonna last me a while. So cool thing about this is that this is gonna last indefinitely, pretty much, in the fridge. I mean, if you haven't used it in a year, I don't know if you're gonna use it, and you might wanna toss it then. But hypothetically, this could last years in the fridge because it's fermented. This is packed with probiotics, so it's healthy for you. Not only does it taste good, it's good for your gut. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a like and subscribe to our channel. We're gonna be making more fermented foods in the future. We do obviously a lot of things gardening and just natural living in general. So if you're interested in that stuff, follow us. And if you have any questions or comments about how to make hot sauce or how to make other ferments or other ferments you'd like to see, drop that in the comments and we'd love to accommodate. We'd love to make that for you.